is a tradition that man, or indeed a human being, is born in. Naturally, we are born with Ubuntu. We live with it. We come into this world with that.
Ubuntu ninshila iyo abantu basenderamo ifyo umuntu afwiri okuba n'efyo afwiri okuchita n'efyo afwiri okwikaliramo ubuntu.
Ubuntu chitemiko, ubuntu mutende.
Ubuntu nkukhala pamozi. Ubuntu nikusama. Ubuntu nikukondana.
The desire to contribute to positive changes within rural communities is my strong motivation to work hard for my society. For me, that is Ubuntu.
Ubuntu means humbleness. Ubuntu means humility. Ubuntu means love.
Ubuntu is I'm a person because of a person. Actually a person. I'm who I am because of who we are.
What Ubuntu means to me is the ability to look at the need of others and be able to put yourself in their position, be able to do something about it.
It's a Monday and a lovely Monday evening. Welcome to Ubuntu channel. I am your host, Lance Nibanda, taking you through the 55 minutes that we have for you on this very channel. As today on a Monday like this, we get to talk about lifestyle. Yes, you heard it right. We are talking about lifestyle. And our guest this evening is none other than Simon MWEWA Lane. Now, Simon MWEWA Lane, most of you, as you know him, he is a vlogger that you have been seeing right there on Facebook, you know, going about and vlogging almost about everything that happens on Simon MWEWA Lane. Not forgetting also Nkanyapa Simpson. Namwe bagay na bagero batuma plastiki, bamene mapitamo tuma shortsi, tuzapato shanshani kusipaketi kuja, you know about him. But before we get to him, let me get to introduce to you my co-host for this evening, HIMBA. HIMBA, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Lance, and good evening, viewers, and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. And of course, like they always say when they are doing Kanyama protocol, kuma high profile event, they say, it is my rare honor to introduce to you our high profile guest for this particular evening. And this is none other than Simon MWEWA Lane. Mr. MWEWA, good evening and welcome to Ubuntu. Welcome to the program. We receive you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, let's be clear. To be clear, my full names are Chitambala MWEWA for Simon MWEWA Lane. Let me explain where the Simon MWEWA Lane comes from, because some people think that my surname is Lane. Simon MWEWA Lane is actually the name of a road. It's a street. It's directly in front of Simoson Building. And Simoson Building, as you know, was built by my late father back in the mid-'80s, and it still stands here today. So about 8 years ago, I opened a Facebook page in honor of this road. The original idea of Simon MWEWA Lane was to document the activities of.
Before we get to that, Mr. MWEWA, we've got a lot to know. We've got a lot to would love to know about you. But before we get, we'd love you to greet the viewers. We want to know who you are first. Will you please greet our viewers?
Thank you, viewers, and thank you for tuning in. And that's what I was explaining is who I, because people get confused. They wonder if that's my name or what is my name? So that is the explanation. Chitambala MWEWA is my given name, but Simon MWEWA Lane is the road that is located directly in front of Simoson building. And so the idea was to document the activities in and around the CBD, in particular this road.
Okay, pretty interesting. So after having people getting to learn about Chitambala MWEWA, let's get to the credentials before we get to the happenings. Let's get to the credentials. What has Simon MWEWA studied? I know anyway. Allow me to call you Simon MWEWA because
sure. That's fine. That's okay.
This is the household name that people have come to know. So let's stick with that. What credentials does Simon MWEWA Lane have? And then also, let's get to just go through a little bit of your childhood growing up to where you are now.
Sure. Well, people think that I have this long list of lofty titles behind my name. I don't. I'm just a simple guy. I went to high school here in Lusaka. When I left Lusaka in 1989,
Mr. MWEWA, if you don't mind, would love to know the name of the high school. It would just make me feel good if we went to the same high school.
I went to Leopard's Hill Secondary School. I also attended international school from Lusaka.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So when I finished secondary school, I felt led. I felt called to the ministry. So I studied theology and philosophy in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This is in America. And when I came back, my original idea was to go into ministry, but I went into a completely different direction. I went into the family business. But every so often, I still feel the pulling and the tugging of the ministry.
Okay, that is pretty interesting. So let's quickly fast forward to you coming back to Zambia. What was the reason of you coming back? Because what it has been is that when people go overseas to go and study, they do not only go to study, but after studying, they will decide to start working from there, make a family or find a family there, and then they build their life from there. You decided to come back to Zambia. What pulled you back?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I finished my college education, one of the things that I was planning on doing was I wanted to stay there. I wanted to live in America. In fact, at the time I was dating someone. Unfortunately for me, my visa, I had a problem with my visa because I had overstayed. And this was something that, I thought was, I'll take care of. And when the authorities, when immigration caught wind of the fact that I had overstayed, they actually sent me back. So all the plans I had to live there and to make a life there was sort of cut in half because I was sent back. And sent back is a nice way of saying I was deported. I was deported because I overstayed and my visa ran out. I mean, I laugh about it now, but I'll be honest with you, for many years, I was very ashamed of that because my father was very disappointed that I went through that episode. But being a social media personality, this information started floating around. And I remember 2 years ago, I had to deal with it. I had to be honest with my audience and explain what happened. So the reason I came back was because I was sent back, because my visa had expired. And I was basically an illegal immigrant. After I did my studies, I should have just come back, but I stayed. And that's why I came back. But I'm glad I came back because when I came back, I reunited with an old high school friend of mine who now is my wife, and she's been my wife for almost 53 years. Her and I went to the same school many years ago, and together we have 4 kids.
Wow!
And I'm happy.
Okay. On a lighter note, let's not be too serious about everything. On a lighter note, you know, many a times that we Zambians have always mocked people that have gone into the diaspora. Kutawe vanabwera chena ka accent kachizungu vinangu vinasara. That's on a lighter note.
Yeah, well, I mean, people say that, but you know, I came back with a wonderful experience of the American culture. I did what I studied there. I came back, and I'm glad that I had those experiences. Those experiences in America, my education over there, the friends that I made, the connections that I made, the links that I made, all of that is part of the grander picture of who I am. And so I'm amused when I hear people say, no, when I with an accent. That's not true. Anyone that goes to any country for any length of time, when you come back with experiences. You come back, in many cases, with more credentials. If you go back there, if you go to the States or any country to study, when you're done, you come back with a qualification. You know, and so it's a component of things that become the total sum of who you are. And I think it's a mockery, and it's a form of disrespect when you say to someone, "When I with an accent," that's not true. I think that's designed to belittle someone. And my experience has been that people who say that are people that are jealous of other people that have traveled. That's my experience. You know, whenever you hear someone say, "When I end up with an accent," that's jealousy. That's that person saying he feels jealous that you traveled and he didn't, or they didn't. So it's all covered in this camouflage.
Thank you so much, Mr. MWEWA. Just to take you back, me, I still want to get to know you a little bit personal. I would love to know, is Mr. MWEWA married? Does he have children? Is he a brother? Is he a sister? Maybe just get to know, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all. I've been married. My wife's name is Sylvia. Her maiden name was Sylvia Mutesa. Her and I, we go back a long way. Our families, my parents and her parents, they knew one another. My wife and I, we went to the same school. In fact, we were in the same class, along with the current mayor of Lusaka, who happens to be my niece. Myself, niece, and my wife, we were in the same class. The reason I mentioned my niece is because my wife and my niece, who's the mayor of Lusaka, were very, very close friends when they were younger. They're still close now. It's just that, when they were younger, they were best friends.
Is she the one you were sending to take the notes to the Mrs. MWEWA?
No. In fact, when we were kids, when we were in class, we were never romantically involved. We only became romantically involved when I came back from the States, and her and I reconnected. And the moment I saw her, after having not seen her for many, many years, the moment I saw her, I knew. I said, "Well, that's my wife." And we were married 6 months from that moment.
So the moment you saw her, I just said, there goes my rib.
Yes.
Okay.
The moment I saw her, I said, she's the one. And at the time, I had just come out of a relationship with somebody, and not just, a short time after that is when I met my wife, and I knew that she was the one. And that was 23 years ago. So we've been married 23 years.
Wow. Mr. MWEWA, there's a cry. Even ko bagesti balelanda ko nechisungi chako na ifwe tumfueko. There's a message. Bali message here, Isa. So I'm going to take I'm going to take you a little bit back. You mentioned about, there is the message, Mr. Mwela. Please tell the guests to use simple words.
No problem.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to take you a little bit back, Ramuel. But you talked about being deported. What message do you have to the young people? I'm sure you were still young when that happened and there were maybe some naive. So what advice and what will you tell young people to take into consideration when they travel abroad, especially if they go to study?
Well, it's that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. You know, what's interesting is, of course, America has changed over the last several years. In those days, it was different. You know, I remember traveling because I'd come here for a holiday and I went back to the States. When I had come here for my holiday, that was when I should have made sure that my visa was extended and all of that. I didn't pay any attention to all of that. I just assumed that I would take care of it once I get to stateside, which meaning to the States. But what I should have done was to make sure that all the T's were crossed, all the I's were dotted, and I made sure that I was in good standing legally. I took it for granted. So to answer your question, the advice I have for young people when you travel, of course it's different now because, you know, if you don't have a valid visa, you won't even get on the plane. You know, but just make sure that your documentation is in order. If you don't understand something, ask a professional, ask an immigration consultant or an immigration officer, and then know the culture that you're going into. You know, I mean, not everybody goes to America, but you know, sort of do a background check, do a little studying, a little research on the country you're going to, so that you try to acclimate as quickly as possible. Because, you know, different countries have different norms and different customs, you know, so it's a good idea to sort of bring yourself up to speed on the culture of the country that you're going into, without, of course, without losing who you are, without losing yourself, you know. So that would be my advice. Stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble.
That takes me to my next question. My next question was, what is your comment about people who leave their country and when they go wherever they go, they forget about who they are, their culture, they forget about their family? And how was it for you to integrate back to our culture and not to lose who you are? How did you manage that as well?
Well, I was, in all fairness, I was only gone for 7 years. By the time I left and came back, it was about 7 years in total. And in the 7 years, what I do remember, though, of course, it's different now because when I was a student, I was the only Zambian in Baton Rouge that I knew of. You know, there was no Zambian community in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You know, so I had no connection with Zambians. America is different now. When you go to America, it doesn't matter which state you go to. There's a Zambian community. You know, there's Zambians that you can connect with. In the 80s, that was non-existent. We didn't have that, you know. And so, you know, maintaining contact with my family was a big thing. You know, I spoke to them almost every day. And the longer I stayed there, the less I communicated by phone, you know, do letters. In those days, it was letters. There was no email in those days. So, you know, maintaining a sense of who you are as a Zambian or an African, whichever country you're from in Africa, but maintaining a sense of who you are, your culture, is very important. It's easy to lose that the longer you stay in a foreign country. It's very easy to lose that. And then having to relocate when you come back to Zambia, when you decide, if you decide to come back to Zambia, you have to then go through another process of reacclimating, you know, realigning yourself back to the Zambian culture, because it's very difficult to do, and it's very scary. The thought of leaving America and coming back to Zambia, especially for me, who I had to come back. It was very, very scary for me, because I was thinking, well, what if I don't function? But that's just something we tell ourselves. I mean, we've lived in Zambia. I lived in Zambia longer than I lived in America. So looking back now, in hindsight, I think it was foolish on my part to think that it was going to be difficult for me to realign or reacclimate to Zambian culture when I am a Zambian at heart. And I was born here, and I spent more years here. 7 years in America, it pales into utter insignificance in comparison to the rest of my life that I've been here. I mean, I'm 53 years old. I've lived in my country more than 40 years of my life. So to answer your question, it's daunting. It's very daunting, because I speak to Zambians who want to come back. I mean, I was speaking to someone not too long ago. He's lived in America for 25 years. 25 years. And he wants to relocate, and he is scared. He says, Mr. MWEWA, what am I going to do? I feel like I'll start from scratch. And the truth is, that's what it is. You start from zero, and then you work your way out. But then you acclimate.
Thank you so much, Mr. MWEWA. Now, you are running the family business. We would love to know, at what point was this responsibility given to you, and how did you take it when it was given to you?
Well, my father passed away about 16 years ago, and early on we made a decision as a family to make sure that we stuck together, to make sure that the business was not diminished in any way or compromised in any way. Because, as you know, in our Zambian culture, when the patriarch, the person I call the patriarch, when the founder dies, oftentimes there's confusion in the family. There are people, outside elements, that try to destroy what the patriarch built. But, in our case, our father consistently talked to us about, how he felt that the vision of the company should go. For example, he would always say to us, never sell this business. No matter how much trouble you guys get into, never sell this business. The other thing he told us and taught us was, never use this business as collateral to borrow money from the bank. We have a property in McKinney. We call it McKinney Simoson. We've used that property as collateral. And the third thing he told us was that whenever you do borrow money from a bank, just make sure you pay it back, because the banks don't care who you are. They will grab your property if you don't honor your payments. And we've always stuck to that. And so to answer your question, when my father died, we moved in, my siblings and I, my sister and I, basically we run it here at Simoson and also the McKinney property. So, and we work together, we work very openly. The goal is to maintain the legacy of the body of work that our father left behind, and to build on it, in a sense, to make it better, to make it, ubiquitous in a sense. And we're doing everything we can within our power to do that.
Thank you so much. And that's actually, it's as you've already said, that in our country, it's very difficult for the children to take up the father's business or the family business. How has it been for you to keep this business successful?
Yeah, no, it's been easy, because early on, from the very beginning, my sister and I, my siblings and I, including our mother, we had a very clear sense of what we wanted to achieve. We didn't have there was no, I'm very saddened sometimes when I see family businesses that crumble after the patriarch dies. And one of the things that we don't know how to do in Zambia collectively is family wealth transitional planning. Family wealth transitional planning is almost non-existent in Zambia because people don't know that it's an art. You know, it's a science, and it's a science that you have to sit down with your family and inculcate into your children's psyche. This is the reason why the Asian community do so well with family businesses, is because they start their children young. They're constantly talking to them about it and making sure that they have a clear vision of where they want the business to go. One of the problems that I've seen, and one of many problems, is there's this sense that nobody talks about the family business until the patriarch dies. And then people come in and say, okay, and people start pulling each other left, right, and center. And before you know it, what oftentimes happens is family members just decide, you know what, let's just sell the property, split the money, and go our separate ways. That is the worst possible thing any family can do. That is the fastest way to kill the legacy of the patriarch.
Have you ever encountered such a situation as a family?
Sorry?
Have you ever encountered such a situation or such a moment where somebody said, let's sell the property?
No, never. We were very, and we've always been, we were very focused from the very, very beginning. We knew what the trajectory was. We knew what the goal was. And the goal was to stay intact, stay together, make it better. It was never about selling. You know, we've had offers from, I remember one German guy came here. He offered, I think, $5 million or something like that to buy the estate. And we said no, because, you know, like I said, from the time we were younger, I'm the firstborn in my family. You know, from the time we were little boys, my father would always say, never sell family assets, never sell property, never sell property. You can sell a car, but don't sell land, don't sell property, don't sell real estate. So that's just always been in us. We don't, selling is never the go-to solution for us. It's always about making better, adding more, tweaking, improving.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. MWEWA. Let me still get back personal into you. Like I said, would love people to know you better and maybe somehow create a personal relationship with you by them understanding who exactly you are, so that even as you go about telling stories of Simon MWEWA Lane and the surroundings, they understand the person who is doing that and not only thinking, no amdala chewa makondo pitamo na ka camera nakaja ka stand ka phone makopa kopa chabi. What made you start vlogging? What was the core? What was the inspiration behind you making this life choice of saying, hey, I think let me start, you know, recording whatever that happens in this place?
Great question. The inspiration came from City Market. Let me give you some backstory. Lusaka City Market, which is located directly in front of Simoson, was built in 1994. Now, most people don't know what this land looked like prior to 1994. Most people don't know, they've never seen footage, video footage or photographs of the progression of the construction of City Market. Simoson, we have all, from the time Simoson was just land, from the time that my father bought this land from Mr. Issa in 1986, from the time that the first foundation was laid for Simoson, from the time it was going up. All of that was documented. You know, my father documented all of that, both in picture and in writing. The inspiration came from the fact that nobody has really seen the progression of City Market. That's not to say there are no pictures of the progression. I'm sure Lusaka City Council has that footage. But in terms of video footage, nobody has that, as far as I know. And so the inspiration came from that idea that, you know, 50 years from now, of course, 50 years from now, I'm not going to be here. I'll be long gone, you know. But the videos that I take now, people that are coming behind us 50 years from now, they're going to look at these videos and they'll say, oh, so this is how people lived on this street. This is how Simon Moore was in 2023 or 1989. You know, that's the reason I get amused when I hear people say, Akopa, why Ukopa? Chikopa Chabe. It's because it's a video diary. There's a famous photograph that's going around social media now. It shows what Cairo Road looked like in 1960. Can you imagine for a moment if the person who took that photograph was told by someone, why Ukopa? We wouldn't have seen what Cairo Road looked like in 1960. But we are able to see that because someone decided Ukopa.
Ajawe mdala kulunje pe anapunzira technology akonda chape kukopa chape.
Yeah. Someone in 1960 decided, when I take this picture, someone in 2023 or 2022 is going to look at this picture and he's going to say, oh, so Cairo Road definitely going to give 1960. That's why I do it.
Pretty interesting. Echo to you, our viewer, wherever that you are watching us from, whichever platform that you are using, either Facebook, YouTube, as well as Twitter. We encourage you to join us right here into the studio. We have shared with you the studio link. Click on that link. Make sure that when you come in, accept both video and audio so that you join us into the studio. Ask your burning question to Simon Mwewa. Lero takuleterani osabaonera chape pa Facebook and then mukabaona pa Facebook mukomentera chekwanu kumbali uko mkankarakanga ni kutia lero tabaleta lero pa Ubuntu kuti kambani nabo direct so that at least you get to know him personally, get to know him in person and get to know his personality and what kind of a person that he is. Join us into the studio, leave a comment, leave a question, as well as express a view so that at least you and us, together with Simon Mwewa, we get to have that particular engagement right here and understand him, who he is and what he stands for. I still continue to say, our dear viewer, make sure that you join us into the studio. Click on that link. Make sure that you accept both audio and video as you are joining so that we can have a best interaction ever. Mr. Mwewa, already we have Mukerebai right here in the studios. Well, Mukerebai, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Ubuntu. How are we?
We are doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. Wamwewa Mchwani.
Hello, Mulishan Yuko.
You have to learn. You have to learn how to speak Lozi because I find it so a little bit strange that you are busy correcting people how to speak English, American English, and then you are failing to learn the language which is just within in your yard, in your corner. I don't know if you are even married to a Lozi. I don't know the wife.
No, well, to be clear, I can speak my language very fluently.
Okay. I can speak your language as well fluently.
But interestingly enough, my daughter, our firstborn daughter, is married to a wonderful Aussie man.
Exactly. Yes. Amazing. No, it's good to see you on Ubuntu.
Thank you.
And I follow you. I see what you're doing in Zambia, which is very good. We really appreciate, especially when it comes to cleanliness.
Yes. Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, yes. So you forgive me for that. Cleanliness, and I like the way you do it, and I just hope that every Zambian emulate and follow what you're doing and clean the streets of Lusaka, because Lusaka, I'm telling you, there's this I don't care type attitude in with people. They can throw things everywhere, and I see you rub shoulders mostly with these workers or the traders on the market. And I just want to find out, how do you compose yourself, and especially when it comes to women. I saw the previous video where you had an altercation with a lady who even threw some, I don't know, how did that end? What happened? How did you guys shake hands and hugged?
Yeah. Well, let me give you some backstory. The reason, well, first of all, that lady is someone I know. In fact, she's a distant relative of mine on my mother's side. But like a real distant relative. But I've known her for many, many years. The reason she was upset with me that day, all week long, I've been telling all of them, because these ladies that sell shoes on the side of the road, they sell them directly in front of Simoson, on the northwest side of Simoson, the side that faces City Market. So all week I had been telling her and her colleagues, so markets, because which is the truth. I mean, the minister's been talking about this. The local government minister, Honorable Gary Kombo, has been talking about this. The mayor of Lusaka, Mr. Chidangala, has been talking about this. The local authorities have been talking about this. So that particular week, I've been telling them, I said, look, very soon you need to go back. And she was very angry with me, because she was saying, well, as long as the president doesn't remove us, you can't remove us. So that particular day, when I said, look, your shoes are in the road, she just snapped. And, she picked the shoe up and threw it at my phone, broke my phone. In fact, the same phone I'm using here now, she broke it. And because she was so upset, I mean, I knew it was she was just having a bad day. And of course, I wouldn't press charges against her. So the following day, I went back to her and I said, look, I'm sorry I upset you. And we made up, and I did a video where I went to her and she started saying to the Facebook audience, she says, Facebook, so I family.
That's good. That's wonderful. But what protection do you have? Do you have any protection when you go out there, or it just comes in naturally?
No, I mean, I've been here for 33 years, and so I know this terrain. I know the landscape. Of course, during the PF, it was very dangerous, because during the PF had this idea, especially the cadets. They didn't like being recorded. They hated that, because in their mind, if you capture, as they say, in Zambia we say capture. If you capture someone, their face, because most of the PF cadets were wanted criminals. I mean, there were guys who had been in prison or who were headed to jail, or guys who had assault charges. So they didn't like the video camera. So in those days, whenever I would go around videotaping, they used to give me a lot of problems. In fact, one day, a few cadres came to see me and they said, "Oh, MWEWA, what a meeting, our district chairman. So, imwe twamichita ban. We have banned you from videotaping. So, imwe MWEWA ngamwafika pa office, ngamwafika pa Simonson. Imwe mule ingira fye mu Simonson, mwapa kinga, mwinaenda ukamumusebo. Na mwapuishe nchito ya hapa Simonson, mwafuma mu office, mwaingira mu motoka, and you drive off. I looked at them and I said, "No, Mwalipena, you think I can listen to that nonsense?
What in court order?
Can you come here to tell me that Nira and Mumsebo?" I said, but videotape, I'm going to videotape. So that's how that ended. But you know, I don't have protection in the sense that, you know, I don't have bodyguards.
No, you need security.
Yes.
All right.
No, it's good because we are a peaceful country. Anyway, thank you so much for having chatted with you.
Thank you, sir.
And keep up the good work. We are following. We are supporting you, especially when it comes to cleanliness. Because you are here. And that's why I'm even.
Okay, thank you so much, Bo Mukereba.
Okay, bye.
Bo Mukereba.
All right, so Mr. MWEWA, before I get to engage the viewers with messages that have come through, I'm believably told that we have 2 questions that have come through. But before you get to respond to that, or before we put them on, let me get back to your personality as an individual. What kind of a person is Simon MWEWA? Are you a jovial person? Are you easy to anger? Are you somebody that accommodates people? Who are you exactly?
Well, I'm a little bit of everything you've described. You know, sometimes I'm impatient. I try to be as cordial as I can. I try to be as accommodating as I can. And I mean, I want to believe my heart is to see a clean environment, to see people uphold our traditions. I'm a traditionalist. You know, I believe in the old school tradition of respect and regard for authority. And I disdain rebellion against authority. I don't like seeing young people rebelling against authority, young people disrespecting elders. You know, those are the things, those are the tenets my wife and I, we hold dear, and we inculcate in our children. You know, we are traditionalists. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, through my okaying you and everything, I've cut you short, but we have a guest in the studio. You have to bear with.
Sure.
William, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance. Can you hear me at all?
Definitely, I can hear you. Thank you for coming through.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Mr. MWEWA.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Clips that you actually produce there. I really love them. And,
thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. To be fair, but my question tonight is, you actually talked about these these simple briefcase profits. I followed that and I was listening to that. And my question is, what message do you have for Zambians, because they are falling short of these prophets, whoever comes into Zambia and pretends to be the prophet, they can say, if you can't get pregnant, you come to me, you get pregnant tomorrow. If you don't have money, you come to me, you'll be rich tomorrow. If you don't have visa to go to America, you come to me, you get a visa tomorrow. So what message? Because I see a lot of Zambians going actually, in big numbers to these, very scrupulous prophets. What message do you have in Zambia? Because we appear like we are still backward on that area. Thank you.
Yes, we are. We are very backwards, and people don't realize how much of a problem this is. This is a very big, it's a malignant, it's a cancerous problem, especially they have destroyed the fabric of many, many families because they have mixed traditional Christianity. They've mixed it with witchcraft. I mean, these papas these days are basically glorified witch doctors, and it is eroding. It's eating away at the family structures within our communities. Because people are going to these. I mean, in effect, in a sense, most of these guys, they're just in it for the money. They're doing what they're doing to get money from unsuspecting, gullible, unenlightened people. Because when you shroud, when you cover everything in spirituality and mysticism, and our people are not terribly bright when it comes to Bible interpretation. Whenever you have a group of people that know nothing about Bible interpretation, it's very easy to manipulate them. Especially I'm reminded, this was back when we had the Ministry of Religious Affairs. I sat down with the minister. The stories she would tell me, it was like watching a film. Like one woman, she used to go to a church. Her husband bought her a brand new Jeep. The pastor saw that this woman got a brand new Jeep. He called her to his office and said, God has revealed to me that every time you drive that Jeep, I see a coffin in your car. And so this woman was very scared. She said, coffin. The prophet said, the fake prophet said, so you were for 3 months, give me your car so that I pray, I cleanse it. The woman got the car keys and gave them to the prophet. Our prophet, the husband of the woman asked her, so because so that the number evil spirits the husband went to the prophet, burst into the prophet's office and said, prophet, that's how the prophet gave the keys back to the husband. But this was the clincher. When the husband went back and gave the keys to the wife, the husband said, I don't want you to go to that church anymore. Stop going to that church. Guess what the prophet said? The prophet calls the wife and says, your husband came to get the keys from me. God has revealed to me that either you or Mukafua accident.
Mr. MWEWA, and Mr. Willis, as much as we would love to continue with this, we urgently need to go on a very short break. When we come back, Mr. MWEWA, please continue with this story, or I will remind you to continue, because I'm very much itching to know the ending of this story. So let's go on a very short break, and then when we come back, our dear viewer will be reading your comments as well as messages that you have sent through this particular broadcast. All right, so director, let's.
Of infertility is because of infections, typically the chlamydia and the gonorrhea.
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Since I've been mentioned, I can react to what comment Chinda just
I haven't finished my point.
Remember,
no, let me finish my point so that my brother can.
Does the Patriotic Front know the kind of damage they have done to our economy and to our country? I do not.
The alleged abduction of Pamela Chisupa, and this case has really kept us on our toes. And in as much as
nobody has been acquitted from this new dawn administration cases that have been started, there's nobody that has been acquitted. Okay.
CJ, foreplay. I'm not talking about jump and begin acting like a kangaroo. No, foreplay. Many of us as Africans, we lack this virtue. This is not there.
Yeah, the time project ku Malabo. What's about the first game toilet was Senate. I think what it is underrated, because even the home up, you can see the way they are doing home up. But munagati bora na wawina kale nyoko.
So it's actually good if you start creating competition in the team. If you don't create competition, then you will have a problem. Who to replace when one is injured?
I think the names people have been calling me, I accepted them and I welcomed them. But what I would prefer being called as a nickname, I would prefer being called Sambalung.
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us, and good to know that you are still watching the lifestyle program right here on Ubuntu channel. And of course, this evening we have with us our guest, who is Chitambala MWEWA, popularly known as Simon MWEWA Lane, as he goes by this alias or alias. Anyway, hopefully I won't get corrected as well.
Alias.
Not alias.
Alias Dishley Amuntu.
Okay, great. This is a goodness of a live program, because at least you get to be corrected and put into the right direction. However, before we went on a break, Mr. MWEWA, we were talking about a false prophet, how he managed to get a vehicle from a woman who is very unsuspecting. I think this is much where I can go. Perhaps continue with it in answering Mioba's question, as we also get to engage our viewers on the other questions that have come through.
Yeah, so the husband, after getting the keys back from this false prophet, he went home, gave the keys to his wife. Now remember, this was a brand new Jeep Cherokee. You know those Jeep Cherokee cars, brand new. And the husband said to the wife, I don't want you to be going to that church, because obviously this man that you call your pastor is not normal. A short time after that, the prophet called the wife and said, oh, your husband came here. He was threatening to beat me up. And I gave him the keys. But when I went to sleep, God revealed to me that one of you are going, you're going to die. So the wife told the husband that what the prophet said, what the fake prophet said. And the husband said, you know what? I'm not a Christian, because I don't think the husband was a church-going member. He said, I can tell you now that that so-called prophet is just trying to put fear in you. Nothing like that will happen. It's all of us are going to die one day. But for a prophet to say to you, because I've taken away the keys, you're going to die, that's just him trying to scare you. And so the woman never went back to that church. There are so many stories like that. Many, many stories. Another story is a woman, very educated, but, you know, blinded by these false prophets. She bought a flat and she refused to move into that flat until her prophets came to cleanse the flat. Now, the husband of the girl, the husband said, but why do we're Christians? Why can't we pray for the flat ourselves? She said, no, my prophet said only he can pray for the demons to come out. Only him.
Okay, pretty interesting. I'm busy looking at HIMBA. I'm compelled to ask her, does she wait for a prophet?
I'm sorry to say, if I'm going to offend the people, well, I'm on this program, but this is my personal opinion. If I'm a prophet, I don't believe in such. If he can pray, I can also pray on my own. So,
they are master manipulators. They are master manipulators. You know, anyone that makes you feel that you have to go to them. It's like this there's a new young prophet. His name is Isaiah Brian Bovey. He said, I see in the spirit someone whose name starts with M is going to die. So if you don't want to die, call my office so that we pray for you. See, they do that to manipulate you, to make you believe that only they have the keys to life and death, when they don't have the keys to life and death.
So, Mr. MWEWA, in short, he's telling you to call him. Your name starts with M. So, reach his office and get deliverance.
And I can never call such a prophet. I have no time for those
enda na molu ero alekwe ena ni nchuti ero alekwe bachani ata make you rich tamtira boy pepele we mwini ero wala mpanga rich.
Yes.
Well, okay. Okay, quickly, time is not our best ally, so quickly let's dash to the questions that have come through via our broadcast. All right, so Mulunguru Ben Jerome says there are rumors that you were deported from USA. What happened? Well, I'll bail you out on this one. You answered it. So anyway, maybe the time you were answering it, he wasn't watching. We'll still give him.
Let me just say it again, just so that he knows. I overstayed. My visa ran out, and effectively, I was an illegal immigrant. I overstayed and the authorities sent me back. And I've been very open about this. I talk about this all the time. And anyone who knows, who's followed my videos, followed my podcasts, They are very familiar with that story. The only people that don't know that story are people like, for instance, this person who's asking. They're probably new to the broadcast. They don't know who I am. They don't follow my Facebook page. But if you follow my content, you know the story already.
Okay, great. Let's go to the second question. So, Wellens, apart from coming into the studio, obviously he started with a comment. He said, "Hi, Simon. Just to let you know that I'm your fan. You say things the way they are. Businessman, you were sued by a middleman and also an MP. Do you think people just want to bring you down because you are open-minded?"
No, nobody wants to bring anybody down. When you feel aggrieved, you know, my father used to say, it is the nature of man to sue and to be sued. So when people feel aggrieved, they sue you. I've been sued before. I have sued people before. That's just the name of the game.
All right. So about this, I think, okay, please bring back that question or comment. So Chibonta Jule says, any political ambitions and what's your relationship or story with Siawan?
Well, to answer the first question, I believe that we don't all have to be politicians to make a significant contribution to society. I think we can all contribute in different ways. Not everyone is called to be a politician. So to answer the question, for me, do I have any political ambitions? Right now, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I love what I do. The second part of the question.
Meaning in the future, you might have political ambitions, because this is right now, like right now, you enjoy what you do. Maybe in the future, well, political ambitions might chip in.
Well, I don't know. But right now, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy what I do. Yeah.
Do you have any relationship with Siawan?
Okay, now, first of all, do not refer to him as Seer One. He has a name. His name is Andrew Ejimadu. And the reason he uses Seer One is because he knows that if he uses his real name and you Google his real name, a whole list of crimes will pop up. This is what these false prophets do. Many of them, they use strange names. Genesis, Spirit Rider or something. You know, they have all these strange names. You know, who's the other one? There's this Bovi. You can't even trace their traditional names because they use strange names. So Andrew, his name is Andrew Ejimadu, and he's a very well-known con artist, both in South Africa and in Nigeria. He has impregnated many multiple women here in Zambia and in Nigeria, in South Africa. You know, he's been arrested for child molestation. When you Google his real name, you find that out. But if you Google Seer One, he only lets you see what he wants you to see. So the question is, what is your relationship? What's the relationship between you and Andrew Ejima? There is no relationship. There is no relationship whatsoever. I simply don't want him to be meddling in Zambian politics because he's got his own country to worry about. And Andrew's perceived love for Zambia can never outshine our love for this country.
Let's bring it before I engage HIMBA. Next, I would love HIMBA to come through and probably ask a question or continue engaging our viewers. But let me get to bring you, to Ifemayo Bali. Ifemayo Bali. Mostly when we see two people, counter-reacting to one another, Makabati, Bali beef. So it's like you and Andrew, as you address him, Bali beef. Even yana ambidira njeno, Simon Mwaleni ujam guys was so na so. Then you also did a video addressing him and whatever issues that he raised. And then here you are saying that there's no relationship between you two. Could it be maybe beef?
No, I think when you say beef, people that call it beef are oversimplifying it. It's more than that. It's my desire to see this man, Andrew, stop meddling in our affairs, because he has infiltrated the psyche of the average Zambian. And here's the end goal. The end goal is not for him to see a better Zambia. Andrew Ejimadu, his only goal is to siphon and embezzle money from Zambians. The whole point of what he does is for him to post his WhatsApp number and to tell unsuspecting women on Facebook and WhatsApp, if you want a miracle, send me X amount of money. My inbox is full of women that have sent Andrew millions of kwachas altogether, collectively. You know, millions of kwachas Andrew has received from so many people. And it's all about embezzlement. That's his end goal. Because the way he's infiltrated the Zambian way of thinking, he cannot infiltrate Nigeria in the same way. Because Nigerians look at him and they say, there's no way you can swindle Nigerians like that. But because Andrew sees the weakness in our Zambian setting, he sees that Zambians, for the most part, Zambians are docile. Zambians
are too trusting.
So because I'm a Zambian, weakness here, and he takes advantage of it. My only goal is to remove this guy from the Zambian psyche. Let Zambians make our own decisions, not being influenced by a child molester, a rapist, and a man that impregnates multiple women. And a man who, on his own admission, is a witch doctor. He's not even a Christian. He's a witch doctor. Well, admits.
Okay, it seems like we still have more questions coming through from our viewers using various platforms. Director, let's get to have more questions. And then, Mr. MWEWA, I will let you respond after reading at least 3 sets of questions, 2 or 3 sets of questions, so that you can respond to them at the same time in saving time. So Rafik J Senior says, Vachitambala, are you a Christian? Interesting question. All right. Yes, let's go to another question. This one is from Andrew Peary. He says, people ask, which position in government would Simon MWEWA Television prefer to be if he was given a chance to choose? Or how do you react to citizens in streets who accuse you of being stubborn because of your inheritance from your father? All right, let's read another question if there is one more, so that our guest can respond to that. So Rafik comes back and says, stand for mayor next election. I can prophesy you will win. Okay, that's a prophecy there. let's get to start with Piri's question. In fact, Piri has asked question. So the first question is, what position in government would you choose if you were given a chance to serve in government? And then there's next question.
I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is doing what I love to do now. I love working at Simoson. I love working in the CBD. I love sensitizing our people on the importance of cleanliness and the importance of throwing unwanted items in the bin. I'm not interested in government positions. I can guarantee you that I never sit down thinking, I wonder which government position would suit me. I don't think like that, because I love what I do. I do. And the issue of inheritance, like I was saying earlier, Zambians, by and large, they don't like seeing people inherit property. What they prefer to see is, you know, like remember the man that died in the Copper Belt? Chile, I think it's Chile something.
Chile one, yes.
Yes, he died in the Copper Belt. Zambians would rather hear that the family came in, they took the wealth, you know, the children are destitute. Zambians love that. But they don't want to hear a successful inheritance story.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Director, do we still have more questions coming through? Okay, we seem to not have more questions coming through from our viewers. Quickly, let me dash it back to HIMBA so that she can ask at least one or two last questions as we allow you to rest, as well as also get to rest as well. But before I get to bring her in, Mulungu comes back to say, where do you see Simon Mwewalen TV in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. Well, my goal, my hope is that it'll be a fully fledged television station. A fully fledged online television station.
All right, HIMBA, all to you.
Thank you so much, Lance. And I've really enjoyed just listening and watching Mr. Mwelwa answering these questions. Ukula aska. Va Mwelwa, normally uli psholi anti, nala ipsha mchibemba. Pantindefu anava nandi bonfe, vadiama best friends in past street. I know you love them. And I know you value them from the way you treat them, because I've seen you supporting them. I've seen you standing up for them, you know. Do you ever think of coming up with an institution or an organization, even to work on their mindset? Because I know you interact with them very well. There's one clip I watched. Language, upper street in language. So I'm sure even when you're saying you don't have protection, for me, I know you have protection. Your protection is these people, the way you relate with them. Do you have anything for them in your mind in the near future?
No, I love the interactions we have with them. You know, they work here. This is a work environment. When you come to City Market, everybody's hustling. Everybody. There are very few people just that are sitting by idly. Everybody's hustling. And so in that hustle-filled environment, that is where you see those reactions, the interactions. As far as giving something back to the community, I think that's what you mean. I think you're asking me, do you have anything planned to give back to the community? I feel that my interactions is giving back to the community.
True.
My teaching them the value of respect and the value of hard work and an honest day's work. That's my way of giving back. I don't have a foundation or, you know, sacks of money to dish out to people. I don't have that, you know. But what I do have is a sense of community and teaching our people that sense of community, you know. And it's very difficult to do, but I think over time they will see the importance of it, you know. And not to say that I'm always giving to them. I also learn from them. It's a symbiotic relationship. There are things I teach them that they wouldn't otherwise know, and there are things I learn from them that I wouldn't otherwise know had they not taught me that.
Okay, thank you so much. How would you describe the political situation in our country at the moment?
Stable.
And where do you see the economy in the next 5 years?
Improving drastically.
Why do you say so, and what are the indicators, Mr. Chitambala?
Well, the reason I say so is because I feel that this new administration wants to point us in a better direction. And like I said to you earlier, I'm not an economist. I'm just a guy who runs a business in town. And, you know, if you want the intricate details of an economic analysis, you need to go to I'm not that guy. But all I'm saying is that, you know, I can see that comparatively, when I compare what the PF used to do to what this new administration is trying to do, I believe we're in good hands. And I think that the economy is going to improve because these guys mean well. You know, they are intentional about the economy. They are intentional about it. And I think that's very important. And we're going to see that roll out in the next several years. And I know that it's going to be self-evident.
Okay, thank you so much. As we go to the end of our program, Vice Tambala, Lomba, one thing that has inspired me about you is the way you've managed the family business. It's the way you've just been able to, like, I know you've told us, but this is, I think, as the Zambian community or Zambian families, where we are lacking. I still want you to emphasize over this and just to educate a little bit as you give our audience your last remarks of the program.
Well, like I said earlier, let me just end by saying we need to learn family wealth transitional planning. Family wealth transitional planning is very intentional. It's a science. It's not haphazard. It doesn't happen by spontaneous combustion. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It happens by thorough planning. My father used to say he used to tell us about the 5 Ps. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. He would always say that to us, you know. And so the key is preparation, you know, to build on what you leave behind. And then also, it's also important to carve out your own legacy. It's important to stand in the shadow of the patriarch, but it's more important to carve out your own legacy. And that's what a leader is. A leader is someone that helps you thrive, that makes you better, that makes you do things beyond and above what he did. That's what a leader is, you know. So that's my last word to everybody.
Vachitambala munjeleleko, sorry. Munjeleleko, may I apologize. As I'll hand over to Lance for 1 or 2 questions, but he says there's something important he wants to say, but I think I won't forgive myself if I would leave without asking you to clarify on this. And I heard somebody pass a comment, which I think it didn't settle well with me, where somebody said Vachitambala is still being kept by the mother. I would want you to clarify on that one. And the importance
I'm so glad you asked me that. I left my father's house more than 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Let me explain where that story came from. ZNBC was doing a cooking show. It was called, I think it's called Anyone Can Cook. Okay? So they wanted me to do the show with my mother. You know, my mother's known for cooking. I don't know if you know that my mother's she's known for that.
I actually know her, and she's into also events planning, and I know about that.
Yeah.
That's why I did that.
So when ZNBC invited me to do that, I said, yeah, sure, you know. And it was at our family home. It was at the house behind Manda Hill. That's where I grew up. And so I was doing this cooking show with my mother, you know, and I think that's where the rumor came from. People still thought that I was living there. I left my father's house more than 30 years ago. I live in my own house. The house that my wife and I live in now, we built that house from scratch. And, you know, we raised all of our children there. I don't live in my mother's house. I still visit my mother every so often. I see her every week. but I don't live there. You know, we all live in our own homes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Lance.
Thank you so much, Himba. Before we let you go, Mr. MWEWA, something else has also popped up, a comment that has come through from Daniel Zulu, and we couldn't let it go because he's watching all the way from the Eastern Province. And he says, when you analyze stuff from a biased political stance, you quickly shout stable. PF campaign team arrested SP being fought by UPND cadres under the protection of the police, and you say stable. Okay. Anyway.
Sorry, read that again. Is that a question or is that a statement?
No. It's a statement. And looking at the fact that this is a lifestyle show, somehow the comment doesn't suit for this show, unless when we get into a governance or political show. Because,
well, I mean, that's his opinion. That's his opinion. That's how he views the world, and he's entitled to that opinion.
Yes, definitely. But anyway, my last question that I have for you as we get done with the question, after everything that you have done or that you are doing, how would you like the Zambian people to remember you when you pass on?
I love that question. I want people to remember that he was a fierce advocate for the environment. He wanted to live in a clean city, and he loved his family. Full stop.
MWEWA, thank you so much for being part of the program. We appreciate, and we're looking forward to hosting you again as we continue profiling you and obviously advancing as we get to know you more and better and understand what you do.
Thank you, guys. And guys, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that. God bless you. Good night.
In the background with you.
All right. Thank you so much. And to you, our dear viewer, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for sharing, for liking, as well as commenting. Himba, you've been great. Thank you so much for being such an awesome co-host and partner. And of course, to the entire production crew, we say thank you so much for making it possible that we are live on this very program and this very show. Do look out for another episode of the lifestyle program as we come back on a Monday at 20 hours right here. Good evening, stay blessed, and continue making sure that you follow Ubuntu channel.